Hey, look, we're alive.
We're here.
We're here. It's a Wednesday, and it's raining and thundering and lightning here in Dresser, Wisconsin. I had to turn on a lamp today because it was dark in my living room, and I didn't turn on just any lamp. I turned on my dinosaur lamp. I know,
Wow.
right?
Where did
My
you get
friend,
that?
this at Target. My friend Lori. No, my friend Lori got me the neon one. I bought this one for myself because it's amazing. I spent way too much money on this, but I had to. So anyway, my dinosaur is lighting my way. It was like $30. $30 for a lamp is outrageous. Well, it was $27.50, but it's like $30. But I had to have it, and I had to.
It's, Jenny, it's form and function. So,
Yes,
that's priceless.
yes. It is my bedroom lamp. 'Cause I don't, because Grandma Baker's lamp is now in the living room. So
Oh,
because we needed a nice
fancy
soft
lamp.
light living room, and yeah, so that lamp is still in my life. It's part of my classy repertoire of furniture and stuff that I have because
Yeah.
I have style and I'm classy.
See, I do see. I see. I
I know.
understand completely.
So, Ann Brothers, what's happening in Chelsea?
Well, it's sunny and beautiful here, a light breeze, no clouds. We did go out, Duncan and I did go out to see the meteors last night, but we went out about 10:30, and by 11 we only had this tiny narrow strip of clear sky because it got cloudy. But we did, between the two of us, see 5 of them. So
That's good. We went out about 11, 11:30. We only saw a couple of them. It was a little bit. We're getting some bleed in from both St. Croix Falls
mhm.
and Osceola. So the viewing was not as good as I would have liked, but it was still pretty darn good. It was nice to be outside, not mosquito-y last night, which was a treat. So
Yeah, it wasn't too
yeah.
mosquito-y for us either, but I did have a couple bats, like, whoom, whoom, so
Ooh.
they were
They were
working.
taking care of business.
Hmm.
Taking care of business. Well, it's practically fall here. There's actually trees starting to turn here in this area, which I know I'm just like, you know, I'm not a huge fan of summer. Summer's hot and sticky, but I also, because like Joe and I sat out the other night and just like we were drinking on the veranda like adults. It was really nice. It was beautiful outside. Oh, and we got our next topic for next week. We did a Mount Rushmore of hair bands. Like, who would be your Mount Rushmore of leading men of hair bands? So that's coming up on one of our shows next week, you guys, because this
Okay.
this was a topic that brought about much debate amongst us and others. It was People were like, they were fired up about this. It's like the
They
best part
had
about that,
opinions.
they had opinions, and the best part was like, be you from the left or from the right or from the alt left or the alt right, everybody was getting in on this. It did not matter. It was like we were all one, and like Vince Neil, D. Snyder, that sort of thing. It was funny.
Oh, see,
So
now that I've
anyway,
seen
my
Pee-wee's Big Adventure again, I have to go for D. Snyder. So
and that's the way I am. A, because he was in Pee Wee's Big Adventure, and B, frankly, his hair is outstanding.
yeah,
Outstanding. And the thing about that is, like I said, we'll get into this later, but
right.
we had lots of
You're right.
difficulty defining a hair band because not all rock metal bands are hair bands. You know what I'm saying? So
True. That's so true.
there are there needs to be criteria. So anyway, Ann and I were waxing nostalgic for things that we've done and places we've been because we don't really get to go anywhere right now. So Ann brought up the idea that we should talk about Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore because it's still attainable. Like if you're COVID quarantining still or kind of laying low, you can still do some really good social distancing while still enjoying Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore. That's
Hmm.
the beauty of the outdoors, and that's the beauty of that particular spot is that you can do that. So
Hmm.
that's what we decided to talk about today. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that into the stream. There it is. And Anne, would you like to lead our conversation today about this?
Well, sure, I'd be happy to. Pictured Rock is a national lake shore, and I believe it was the first national lake shore in the country. So it is considered a national park. They just call it a national lake shore. If you've never been to it, it's actually in the Upper Peninsula along the southern edge of Lake Superior, in between the towns of Munising and Grand Marais. So Munising is on the west side, Grand Marais is on the east side, and then the highway that goes through Pictured Rocks is H58, so it will take you all the way through. And from Munising to Grand Marais, it's probably, I want to say, a 90-minute drive. Would you say that's fair?
Maybe more like 70 minutes, because it's not,
Okay.
it's twisty turny. Speed limits in that are probably no more than 45 as you go along that driveway, that drive. But boy, it's a nice drive. God, it's a nice drive.
It is.
I mean, if you just wanted to go and take that drive and do nothing else with Pictured Rocks, you'd do okay, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So that's where it's located if you haven't been there before. A couple of quick things. It was established in 1966, and I don't think the road, that H58, was paved until like 10 years ago. So it was a dirt road that led you all the way through, and that took you definitely more than 90 minutes to drive. So they only paved that road fairly recently. It was First National Lakeshore. It extends 40 miles north and east of Munising, and 6 miles wide at its widest point. It has 2 zones, so a lakeshore zone managed by the National Park Service, and then an inland buffer zone, which is state managed. So it's all, it's not private property. The park includes, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it's, the tough part is it's hard to know sometimes where the national park starts and the state park starts. So, if you're closer to the lakeshore, just know you're in national park. But nevertheless, don't take stuff out of the park. Don't take any rocks or stuff.
Or bears. No bears.
Lights. I'm taking the Uper lights out of the national park. Sorry. My bad.
The park includes sedimentary rock cliffs, which are one of the most beautiful features of the park, I think. It has dunes, beaches, lakes, waterfalls, lots of forest. It's really, if you want to see, forest Michigan at its finest, that's probably where you can see it all. It's famous.
Those dunes are badass.
Totally badass. I mean, they make Sleeping Bear look like a kiddie ride. So just so you know, some of them there are, famous cliffs, mainly sedimentary rock. So that's where you get all that really gorgeous color. Extend about 15 miles along the lakeshore and can be as high as 200 feet above the lakeshore. There's actually a trail that you can walk for I'd say about 7 miles along above on the lakeshore. Such a beautiful hike. The Ojibwe Indians declared this the land of thunder and the gods. And as the setting, here's an interesting fact, the setting for the Longfellow epic poem, The Song of Hiawatha. So I would suggest, the nerd in me would suggest, you go and you take the walk, you read the poem, you take another walk, just, so you can see what inspired this. Plus,
it's a really long poem. Those epic poems are epic. It's like, what, 23 parts?
Yeah.
It's an epic poem in 23 parts. So
epic. It's when they're like writing poetry was like a job. So, but anyway, it's kind of cool, just to see, like, hey, here's what's going on. Here's what inspired. And the truth is, the place is epic. So why wouldn't it inspire an epic poem?
Yeah.
Here's, so. There you go.
Yeah, it really is. And, the funny thing about it is that, people they get really hooked on those sedimentary rock cliffs, but there's some other really cool stuff. I mean, there's in that 40-mile stretch, these are just, I have a picture here of some of the stuff. So this is the Osaba Lighthouse right here. This is a really good picture of some of those cliffs. That's Miners Falls right there. We've hiked out to these falls a few times. Bridal Veil Falls right there, which is, if you want to see those, you need to get to Picture Lakes, closer to winter, spring. Of course, Chapel Rock is probably the most famous feature of Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore. And then this picture at the top, you can see right there, that's the log slide.
Yeah, talk about a dune. There you go, right there. Yeah. So, talk about an epic poem. Look at this epic view of scenery. So,
Yeah. It's nice. And like I said, it's just a gorgeous place. And what's nice is that if you live in Michigan, it's very accessible. Even if you live in Minnesota or Wisconsin, it's about, if you live where I live here in Dresser, which is right on the western Wisconsin Minnesota border, it's about a 7-hour drive, which is not bad.
Which is actually It's actually
it's
closer
short.
than what Duncan and I are. It's more like
Absolutely.
8.5, 9 hours.
Yeah. So if you live in the lower peninsula, southern end of the lower peninsula, it's a good 8 hour drive plus crossing the bridge. I've actually made the drive from here, and it's much easier because you just Wisconsin and the UP are attached, so you're like, hey, yeah. Take us through some fun things to do, Anne, at Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore.
Well, the first thing I would say, and maybe this isn't a great COVID thing to do, but when you get the chance, take the sunset cruise. It leaves out of Munising. They do cruise all day, so you can see all the different rock formations along the shore. That's one of the best ways to see some of the rock formations. But during the sunset cruise, the way the setting sunlight hits the rock, the sandstone is really beautiful. You and I have done that, 3 times? I mean,
Yeah.
It never gets old. So
worth
I
every
would
penny. Worth every penny.
Exactly, totally worth it. Especially if you have a hard time, they have like some trails that are wheelchair accessible. But if you have a harder time getting around or just aren't interested in hiking in the woods and you want to see the cliffs, great way to do it. Take one of the cruises out of Munising. There's a number of waterfalls. Some of them are really close to like where you would park. Some of them are miles away from where you would park, and they're all beautiful. So if you're into waterfalls, great place to see waterfalls. If you like lighthouses, you can hike to the Osaba Light Station. It's a really cool place, all redone, and you can climb up to the top. So if you like lighthouses, and it's on a beautiful stretch of beach. So that's really nice. I would suggest at the very least going to the log slide overlook because it's a beautiful view of the lake. Now, if and
the lighthouse.
Oh yeah, and so it's a really gorgeous view. So if you want to, hike, it's not. I'm like you can park like what 1/8 of a mile from the overlook. So it's not like it's a very hard walk to the overlook. The difficulty is if you decide to go down the log slide and then climb back up.
So if you're looking at this picture right here, the center picture is the log slide. That's a 200-foot dune, and that sucker is almost straight up and down. It's fun on the way down. It literally takes you seconds to get down.
Yeah. But they actually have like big warning signs with ambulances printed on the signs that, this is not a good idea. So if you want to, because you're feeling, I don't know, adventurous, or you watched your sister do it and you're like, now I have to do it. So
sometimes your sister is super dumb.
Exactly. So it is definitely at your own risk. Definitely. I would not recommend it. I've done it twice. I will never do it again, but I said that after the first time. And honestly, you get this spectacular view. The cool thing was that last time we did it, we hiked down. You want to take the hike down slow because you literally sink down to your knees in sand with every single step. And you don't want to blow out your knees or your ankles. But when we got down to the bottom, it's a beautiful beach. And I found a bear print in the sand. That was cool. So I took pictures of that. And then I almost had heat stroke coming back up. So there you go. Lots of fun. Bring water. But definitely go and see the view. If you don't go down the slide, but definitely see the view. It's a spectacular view. Hike to Chapel Rock, round trip from the parking lot to the beach where the Chapel Rock is and back is about 6 miles round trip. So it's really doable. And it's in the forest, so it's nice and shady. But the trail is a little up and down, and there's a lot of like rocks or roots. So you have to kind of be careful about where you're going, but it's certainly a very doable trail. And it's my favorite hike in that park, probably my favorite hike any place that I've been. And there's some tremendous hikes there.
Well, there's a couple of great payoffs. A, you get to the Chapel Rock. B, 12-mile beach is on that hike. There's one of the waterfalls is on it. One of those little waterfalls is, it's just a great, it's nice.
It's a beautiful hike there. It's gorgeous when you get there. It's a beautiful hike back, and then you treat yourself with ice cream because you did a good job.
6 miles is a long hike. Take a snack.
Yeah, definitely take a snack. Duncan and I and Jenny and I, we usually, when we go, we usually take like a little backpack lunch so that when we get to the beach, we have a little bit of lunch. So
It's good.
totally worth it. You can camp if you want. There's plenty of places to either camp, have your camper, or hike in and camp. I've never done it because I like a roof, but there's plenty of people that do it, and I guess I understand it's a very nice place to camp.
Now, the one thing is this year, I think for the first year ever, because of the number of people that have been coming to Pictured Rocks, I think you have to have reservations to camp now. So check into that before you decide to go camp. Definitely check in with the National Park Service there and see what they're doing right now for camping. It used to be first come, first serve. I don't know if that's still the case. So just be aware of that.
I have no idea. So you definitely want to, you don't want to get all the way there and find out there's no place to stay. That would be sad.
So sad.
There's another really beautiful hike, and it kind of follows the same trail, same path that the cruise follows. If you take the cruise, you're just above the lake, and it's really beautiful. And it's from you park at Chapel Rock parking, and you go all the way to 12 Mile Beach and the Chapel Rock, and then you keep going west to Mosquito Beach and back. It's about 10 miles round trip, but about 7 of that you follow along the lakeshore. So you get to see all these spectacular views, and you get to be on these cliffs. You think, oh, they're like practically the size of a football field. Some of these cliffs are just so huge that if you go on the cruise, you see them from the water, and then if you do this hike, you get to see them from above. So it's kind of challenging, totally doable. Take food and lots of water, but it's like considered one of the best hikes in America. So if you're really geeked to do that, you can go kayaking. I am not a big unless you have a sea kayak and you have a ton of experience. I think it's a dangerous thing to do. I see a lot of people in those rinky-dink kayaks, that you have for inland lakes, and they even rent them. But I mean, it is a great lake, and you have to really be paying attention to the weather, because the weather can change pretty quickly, and you don't want to get stuck in that. So you can do it.
It's a long paddle.
Unless you're a super good kayaker and you have your own sea kayak, it's just not a great place to get in trouble. So.
Well, and it's the kayak rental place is all the way across the bay in Munising, so you have to paddle through that bay and around out to the rocks. So it's a long paddle just to get to those rocks, and then it's another couple of miles down. And if you're not physically fit enough to do that, watch out for that. And again, those winds can be bad on Lake Superior. I think it was last year that some kayakers got in trouble because of the winds. There was actually a small craft advisory. They went out anyway and ended up having to get rescued by one of the cruise ships. One of the Pictured Rocks cruise ships saw them out there, saw that they were in trouble, and actually came out and rescued them. So,
Jen, I have to leave for a second. My mic isn't working, so I'm going to leave, and then I'll have you invite me back in.
Okay, cool. All right. Boop. All right, I have removed Anne from the stream. It's harsh, I know. So we'll just we'll jump ahead. So if you're going to stay, there's many ways and many places for you to stay if you're going to do Pictured Rock National Lakeshore. Of course, Anne, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. I'm sorry.
Okay, good. I was just talking about places to stay, and there's some good ones. So Anne already mentioned that there's tons of camping available, and there's tons of camping available. In the national park itself, there's also a really huge campground in Grand Marais, Michigan, big public campground right on Lake Superior. And there's a number of smaller private campgrounds around Munising, around Grand Marais, maybe not right on the lake, but there's no shortage of places to camp, that's for sure. As far as other lodging, if you're hotelers, dedicated hotelers like Ann and I, Munising has a much larger selection of places to stay. It's the much larger community compared to Grand Marais. There are a number of chain hotels in Munising. My personal favorite, if I'm staying in Munising, is a place called the Terrace Motel. It's it's not like on the water or anything. It's actually up the hill in Munising. It's not fancy. It's a little motor lodge type with the outdoor type doors. It's not fancy. It's older, but it's always clean. Larry, the guy that runs it, is awesome, and it's really reasonably priced. It's oftentimes like $30 or $40 less per night to go stay at the Terrace than many of the other places. Like you'll pay $100 and some dollars for the American Inn, and then it's like $70 to stay at the Terrace Inn. And you know, it's worth your time and money. Like I said, he's super accommodating. He keeps the place really clean. It's just not super fancy. It's old school, but that's okay.
Yeah, yeah. It reminds you of being in the UP.
Totally, it's so UP. And if you're on the Grand Marais side, I can't recommend enough the Agate Cross Bed and Breakfast in Grand Marais, Michigan. Ann and I were fortunate enough to stay with them literally the first day they were open, and this was back in like 2009, I think, wasn't it?
I think, yeah.
Yeah, and it's Jamie and Lois are the couple that own the place, and it's just it's a beautiful property, and B, their food's amazing. You know, they have coffee in the morning. They've done, like I said, they've just done a spectacular job. I was looking at their website just to kind of see what they were doing for the COVID stuff, and they've made a bunch of COVID accommodations. So they literally bring your breakfast to your room now. So they bring your coffee to your room. They bring everything to you. It's a great bed and breakfast because the rooms are awesome. They have their own bathrooms within the room, so you don't have to do that weird bed and breakfast thing at some places where you have to share a bathroom. Awkward. You get your own bathroom, and you know, it's just like I said, the property is awesome. And you know, I'm sad that we haven't stayed there in a long time, and it makes my heart sad. But you know, I'm also, but you know, one of the reasons we haven't stayed there is that they haven't had a lot of availability. You know, the secret's out on the Agate Cross. The first couple of years we stayed there, people didn't really know about it. Well, people know about it now. So you'll have to make be smart with your reservations if you want to stay there for sure. Now, the Falling Rock Cafe, which is in Munising, and Ann's going to talk a little bit about that when she talks food. They also, just this year, they opened up an Airbnb in the apartments above the Falling Rock Cafe. So that's actually an Airbnb option. And we were actually all set to stay there in June. Unfortunately, we got COVID canceled in June, so we didn't get to go. But again, really nice looking property. Have read lots of nice things about it. It just opened up in May, and the people that had stayed there put some nice things on TripAdvisor about it. So that's also an option for you if you want to stay in Munising. If you don't feel like camping, you've got other things. And then you would get to stay right above the Falling Rock, which is amazing. Such a great place. So anyway, those are our favorite places to stay. But like I said, it's all up to you, you know. And talk about where to eat, because this is what we do. We go, we hike, we stay places, we eat. So there you go.
We eat. So the first thing I put down was the Falling Rock Cafe and Bookstore in Munising, Michigan. It's so cute. The place is so cute. It's like two storefronts. The first part is where you get your food. The second part is where you sit in the bookstore. They usually had live music. They have a Wi-Fi connection. So if you need to do some Wi-Fi.
The beating heart of downtown Munising, as far as I'm concerned. You can get ice cream there. So
yeah. So they have nothing big, nothing fancy. You get a good cup of coffee. They do little fancy coffees, which are also good. You can get a good breakfast sandwich. They make a couple of lunch sandwiches. They do excellent soups. They have 2 or 3 soups on. You can get, all the ice creams that you want, and I want a lot. So, and then of course they have all the local, they have like a little used bookstore, and they sell a bunch of local authors. So, Upper Peninsula authors get featured there.
Local art.
It's just like Jenny said, the beating heart of the area, and I like to spend my money there because I know that once winter comes, winter is coming. They don't do
there. I want to go.
It's super cute, and it's just everything. It's delicious, and they keep it simple, and it's delicious. So that's a great place to go. Another good place is just west of Munising in the tiny town of Christmas, which has a casino, India Casino. So if you're into that, you can go, feed the slot machines. But they also have a little place called the Duck Pond, which is a little bar, restaurant, and multi-tap with lots of different beers. They feature a lot of Upper Peninsula beers, so Duncan is very appreciative of it. Also, you can camp there. So they have a little campground with yurts. So that's another place where you could camp if you wanted to. Food is good, bar food, but it's a lot of, you can tell it's not just, rolled off a Cisco truck and dumped in a deep fryer, so they have a lot of like local treats. It's yummy.
Yes.
Good place to eat dinner. Lake Superior Brewing Company / Dune Saloon, which is in Grand Marais. And that's a little teeny brew pub and restaurant. They do great pizza, great white fish. I think it's like the best restaurant in Grand Marais. Not that there's a ton of them, but
yeah,
it's
Grand Marais eating options are very limited. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're going to go to the Lake Superior Brewing Company, don't go during lunch and dinner hours. Find more, I would say, off times to eat.
Yeah.
Because if you get there during the dinner hour, it is packed. So if you go like earlier, it's okay. Like go ahead and do that senior thing where you eat dinner at 4 o'clock. Trust me.
Yeah. Trust me. Yeah, exactly. Because once like 5 o'clock hits, forget it.
Yeah. If you're planning on staying in Grand Marais, Michigan, just know that your dinner options are very limited. So like when, the nice thing about when you stay at the Agate Cross is that they do have grills available for you, so that it really does make a lot of sense for you to, and there's picnic tables. They have a little deck out there with picnic tables and stuff on it. So that's always an option. Munising has significantly more dining options. But I will say that sometimes it's just nice to get in the car and drive the 40 minutes to Marquette, because Marquette has some great places. Go ahead, Ann.
Totally. Well, the first thing they have, which is surprising, you'd be totally surprised, is Lagniappe, which is a Cajun Creole place, which you like in Marquette. It is awesome. It is so amazingly good. Oh my gosh, the cheesy grits, I can't stop thinking about them right now. So totes worth the drive, 40-minute drive, because you get to drive along the lake anyway, so it's really beautiful. Nice. But they have, their food is excellent. They have a full bar. I have never eaten anything there that I wouldn't eat again. I'm always, and you know me, I love dessert, and I'm always too full to eat dessert. So that's how good it is. Yeah. If you want something, the Brownstone Inn, which is kind of in between Marquette and Munising, it's been there a really long time. It's been there since the 50s. It's a beautiful old building, kind of old school cocktails, old school fine.
You can get a sidecar there.
Exactly. Fine-ish dining, fine dining for Upper Peninsula. Yeah. I think it's a little on the expensive side, but it's a great place to take your in-laws. So food is good. They pour a heavy drink, as you should as in an old school place. So totally worth it. Yes. Another place that I love for breakfast in the morning is Donkers in Marquette, which is, they have like a restaurant upstairs and a candy shop downstairs. So it's everything you could want.
Candy shop, yeah. So you go upstairs and you get your breakfast, and then when you come down through the candy store, you get your dessert breakfast.
Exactly. They also have a full service ice cream, like a, ice cream parlor.
Like an ice cream sundae bar. Yeah, the ice cream parlor.
Exactly. Awesome. And so that's awesome. So Donkers. And then let's see, Jenny put down that she's like Johnny's Dogs in Munising. I think it was a food cart, wasn't it?
It was kind of a fancied up food cart, so that they had it decked up, and then they had a little deck that you could go with picnic tables that you could go eat your amazing hot dogs. But he took another job. He's now the Johnny of Johnny Dogs. He's now the head chef and in charge of catering at the Boot Lake Bar and Grill outside of Manistee. And he used to be there. So yeah, and I think he got sick a little bit and then decided that owning his own business was killing him, or I don't know the whole story, but anyway, that's no longer there, which is a shame because I love that place. Sorry, reminiscing again. So I have some advice for hiking at pictured Rocks National Lakeshore. Make sure you got the footwear for it. If I had $1 every time I see somebody hiking around in flip-flops, I would be wealthy, and I can't do it. I don't care if you're hiking 6 feet or 6 miles. You need to wear proper footwear, because you don't ever know. You never know when something goes wrong. It happens all the time where people. Well, wasn't there a situation last year where a woman had literally was just going out for a short hike and ended up getting lost, and they found her, but she was gone. She was out there for days on her own. And again, the good news for her is that she was wearing proper footwear, and she did have a few things with her, because a 2-mile hike turned into a 5-day ordeal. So
Yeah.
have a paper map because your GPS can lie. And again, I can't stress enough how helpful those national park maps are. You can stop it. There are visitor centers at each end of the lakeshore. It takes no time at all to stop in, get a quick, grab one of the little free maps that they give you, use that. If you end up not using it, you can always take it back to the visitor center, and they have a place where you can just recycle them. Bring lots of water, start early, because it does, even though it's a northern area, it does get hot and humid there in the summertime. Again, lots of water, bring bug spray. Especially in June and July, you do have the biting flies in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and they can be severe. I do recommend maybe bringing, and putting it in your backpacks, one of those head nets that you can put over a hat, because they will eat your lunch. Those biting flies in the midsummer for sure. So bring some bug spray, because you do spend a decent amount of time on those Pictured Rocks hikes in woodsy area where you're not in the sun. And you might need some sunscreen for when you emerge onto the beach. And if you spend any time on the beach after or during your hikes, that sunscreen is nice. A hat is nice as well. So it's an effective thing. But,
stay on the trail.
Again, stay on the trail. And if you're going on any sort of larger hike or longer hike, make sure, or if you're doing some sort of backpacking, because you can do backpacking. So again, as always, make sure that you check in with the rangers so that they know you're on the trail and they know when to expect you to come off the trail, because that is one of the nice services that the national park will do, is they will make sure they know where you are, or that you're expected back at some time. So, do the little things. Little things make big things. So there you go. And what else is nearby?
Oh gosh, well, there's a beautiful beach at Grand Marais. So if you want to have a beach day, Grand Marais, right at the end of the town, ends in the lake, gorgeous beach. Have a picnic there. Jenny and I have had plenty of picnics there. Really nice place to get in the water, to hunt for rocks, to just chill on the beach. Really lovely. Again, I can't stress this enough. Take the sunset cruise. I don't know what's going on for COVID-19, but that's a great thing to do. If you want to go further away from the Pictured Rocks, you want to take a day trip. The nice thing about the Upper Peninsula is it's not huge, so it's really easy to get most places. You can go to Tequamanon Falls. There's 2 beautiful waterfall areas. It's a state park, and they also have a brew pub there. That's a really nice place to go. It can get pretty crowded there, so make sure you go early. And there's a really nice walking trail between the 2 falls, but it is pretty, it's a strenuous one. So, just if you decide to do that, make sure you take lots of water and treat yourself to a beer afterwards. Or you can go to the Sioux Locks and Sault Ste. Marie, which is way on the east side of the peninsula. But it is so, if you got some nerd in you, you're going to love it. They have a big park there, so you can just watch these huge boats go through the lock. It is mesmerizing.
I find that people that don't think they're boat people aren't boat people until they get in front of an 800-foot or freighter, and then they're like, I'm a boat person now. It's amazing. Right. It really is. Yeah. It's like, okay, I get it.
Whitefish Point in the Whitefish Bay area, there's a lighthouse there that doubles as a bed and breakfast. There's a bird sanctuary there. It's right on the beach. There is a lot, if you are a diver, if you're into diving, there's shipwrecks there that you can dive to. So a lot of people that do that like to do diving, scuba diving, go there to check out some of the shipwrecks. It's really an interesting place. So,
well, the shipwreck museum, the Michigan Shipwreck Museum, is at Whitefish Point. So,
right,
yeah, it's awesome.
So, I would suggest getting there very early and spending some good solid time there. And Jenny and I have done the bed and breakfast at the lighthouse at the old Coast Guard station. That's really cool too. So, it's a way to see it.
Breakfast is a kind of a liberal. They basically have this kitchen that's yours for the taking, and the cabinet's full of like little boxes of cereal and yogurt in the fridge and bottles of water, and it's a nice little setup.
Yeah, the rooms are cool. You get to be there in the evening, which is really neat. And then you go into Paradise the next morning and have blueberry pancakes at the diner. So
Nice. Monica is with us, and she wants to know what a Uperlite is. Excellent question. We actually did a little thing on Uperlites a few weeks ago, Monica. And what I'm going to do is I am going to share the link to our presentation on Uperlites when we get done here. I'm going to make sure I do that for you. Essentially, what it is a rock that you find very specifically along the shores of Lake Superior because of the geology that when you hit it with a good, solid, strong UV light, it glows back at you. So it's essentially a new mineral that's been discovered. It's a sodalite. So it's a really cool thing. They're just recently discovered. It was actually discovered by a gentleman from Grand Marais, Michigan. If you want to just type in Uperlites, Grand Marais, Michigan, and this guy's website is going to come up, and he's going to take you through the whole thing. But like I said, I will go ahead and get that presentation posted for you so that you can kind of look through it yourself. And there's some really good information in there. So it's pretty cool. So, and that beach at Grand Marais, Michigan would be a perfect place to look for Uperlites in the evening.
yeah.
So yeah, it is totally awesome. It's going to be the new agate. Everybody, has spent their life looking for agates. Now they're going to be looking for Uperlites. It's so
That's right.
It's like super trendy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you feel like taking a longer drive, you can go to the Keweenaw Peninsula, go to the most northern point of Michigan, and that's where Copper Harbor is. The one of the leaving points to go to Isle Royal, Michigan's only national park. But it's a beautiful drive. There's actually a mine there where you can go on a mining tour. There's a couple really neat towns along the way. The view is beautiful. It's quite lovely. So I would recommend that. If you feel like spending a day in Marquette, which you should, you can go to the Presqu'île in Marquette. It's this little island kind of on the western end of Marquette, Michigan. Really nice place to do a little hike, to see a sunset. And then you can go to Sugarloaf Mountain, which is just outside of Marquette. It's a short hike, but it's an intense, up lots of stairs. But you get to this high point up above Marquette, and the view is stunningly beautiful. And if you go in the late summer, there's little tiny blueberry bushes all over the place. So you get off the platform, you go sit on a warm rock, you eat warm blueberries from the bush, and you just watch the beautiful lake. So that's highly recommend that.
It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Totes.
It is totally totes. So yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see if there's anything else that we. No, that's it. So that's pretty much our entire presentation about Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore. And Monica, I saw that you had posted earlier that you didn't get out there while you lived in Michigan, and that's okay because you could always come for a visit, and you can plan your visit. Stay for I would say stay for a number of days because you can. There is something to do really along that stretch of the southern Lake Superior that you could spend a whole week just exploring that shoreline, literally from Sioux Locks all the way up the Keweenaw, as far north as Copper Harbor. There's a ton to do. There's a lot of history to that area, because Ann and I have done a lot of different things there. We've spent an entire vacation on the Keweenaw. We've gone to Isle Royal. We've explored the mines. There's so many old copper mines and just that history as well. So yeah, it's worth your time, and it's nice, especially if you live in Michigan or any part of the Midwest, because it's relatively close and easy to get to. Like anything, plan it because it's awesome. And you're getting to that time of year where it's right now. August is personally August and September are my favorite times to be in the UP because there are a lot fewer mosquitoes, fewer black flies. It's a little bit cooler, especially as you get into late August and September. And if you can find a way to travel at that point, it's my favorite time to go up there for sure.
For sure. When it's not too hot and it hasn't started snowing yet.
That's right, Ann. So there you go. But yeah, we pretty much talked your ears off today about Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore. Monica, like I said, I will get you that presentation on Uperlites. So that way you know exactly what to buy when you decide to vacation out here again in Michigan. You'll know what UV light is the best one for your UPR lights, and you'll know where to pick your UPR lights and where not to, because you can't be picking your UPR lights within Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore. It is protected. It's just bad luck. So okay. All right. Well, there you go. So, Ann, tomorrow we will be back. Let's talk about what we're watching. So, Ann and I decided to take, if you're not familiar with the Christopher Guest mockumentaries like This is Spinal Tap or Best in Show, this is one of those. It's a mockumentary, and it's specifically called Waiting for Guffman. And it is about a local community theater troupe and their struggles as they put on a show to celebrate the town's sesquicentennial. So anyway, this is for all the theater. We are specifically targeting this to all the theater nerds out there. If you have ever been involved in any theater production, there are things that you will recognize. And if you've ever been involved in a community theater production, there are definitely things that you will recognize in this. And it's just a personal favorite for those reasons. Yeah. So anyway, we'll be talking about Waiting for Guffman tomorrow. And what are we drinking? We're drinking Moscato.
Moscato wine.
Moscato. Yeah. So, and I'm actually really looking forward to this because Moscato is such a terrible wine. And if you like Moscato, don't no. And my Aunt Vicky would be very mad if she heard me saying that because she loves Moscato. It is not to say that it's not sweet and delicious, but it is. And I'm just deciding, I don't know which one to get because there are so many Moscatos. So if you have any recommendations for a good Moscato, which one should I be drinking? Which color should it be? Because I know there are yellow ones. There's pink
all of
ones.
the colors.
There are red ones. There's probably white ones.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just get one
color?
of each and then do a taste test.
Or you can get flavored ones, so they're blue or pink or whatever, or green.
Why don't we just next week we're just drinking Boone's Farm. That's it. Yeah. So anyway, yes.
What time tomorrow?
I've got part of the problem, man, is that I've been going back to work. I'm like a working person again. So we will be back tomorrow. You guys will be back 7 Eastern, 6 Central, where we will be talking about Waiting for Guffman and drinking Moscato because it's going to be Bar Thursday. So yeah. Anyway, a little bit later. Unfortunately, with me starting school here in the next couple of weeks, some of these broadcasts are going to have to roll a little bit later. Maybe, Ann, we have to start rolling into prime time.
Oh, why not? Why not?
Why not?
We'll get it figured out.
We will. All right. You guys, thanks for joining us today. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for your questions. Be good. Be safe. Make excellent choices. And you take care of that arm, girl.
I will.
Yeah, right on.
I'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye, everybody.